Hello all. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her fourth Union Budget today. Budget 2022 was a growth-oriented budget with a focus on infrastructure spending and bringing in private investment along with the government capital expenditure. To talk about Budget 2022, we have with us Sandeep Jhunjhunwala, partner Nangia Andersen. Sandeep, welcome.
Thanks, Shaleen.
Sandeep, very quickly, an overview of the budget. How do you think it was?
Yeah, so the Honorable Finance Minister, her budget speech began on a futuristic note, which was framed with the objective of laying a foundation as India enters the Amrit Kal, as he said, which is a 25-year period leading up to, India at 100. So overall, the focus area of the budget were laid on, four priorities, which were PM Gati Shakti, inclusive development, productivity enhancement, and financing of investment. So looks like a budget with a growth oriented focus that the government intends to set India when it reaches 100. So I think overall the focus has been on infrastructure spending with a lot of spend coming through the triple P mode with a partnership with the private sector. So I think overall it's a very growth focused and inclusive budget where I'm sure the government intends to go with the private sector in hand so that this growth is focused around all the backward areas which she identified. There was a talk on urban development. There was a focus on tier 1 and tier 2 cities where they said that they will set up a separate committee so that there is a urban development which happens in balance with the development of tier 1 and tier 2 cities. So overall, I would see this budget as something where realistic numbers were spoken about in terms of what the fiscal deficit has been. She spoke about the collections, GST collections being at the peak since the introduction of GST. So I think all these numbers, show the confidence of the government in terms of achieving whatever goals they have set for the coming fiscal year. Even on the tax side, I think while on the personal tax side, the expectation was that the dichotomy between the personal and the corporate tax being increasing, and therefore some kind of relief was expected because the salaried class had bear the brunt in the last year because of COVID. But no additional tax is a good news, I would say. I think there has been some alignment on surcharge, which probably we'll have to look at the budget documents to see how that pans out. But I think some of these announcements around new updated return where some correction may be required, where an individual, if he or she wants to update the return for any income which has been missed out in the prior years, I think that's a very good move where the government itself is trying to emphasize that they don't want a litigation around this fare. So this is good. I think the NPS alignment around deduction for central and state government employees at 14% again is a good move, which is meant to iron out the differences which probably existed. Again, some announcement which were expected around increasing the sunset clause for startups and the manufacturing entity by 1 more year. So the tax incentives out of 10 years, 3 out of 10 years, the extension has been given up to March 23. And for the manufacturing units which are eligible for tax holiday claim, the last date of commencement of manufacturing activity has been increased to March 2024. So therefore, I think this again is probably the announcement at the right time, because now any foreign investor who wants to set up a manufacturing base in India can probably plan well in advance. Again, announcement on crypto expected because people were just not very clear in terms of how their transaction would be taxed. I think government is very clear that they don't want to leave that pie, and they have brought it in at par with what probably a speculation income could be taxed. I mean something similar. So they have said 30% tax, no offset of expenses other than what is the cost of acquisition. Even gift is to be taxed. So any crypto asset, including an NFT, if it is gifted, gets taxed in the hands of the recipient. At least all this brings clarity. They have introduced a TDS provision of 1% on the crypto transactions. So all this are going to at least bring some kind of clarity in terms of how a crypto investor can look at their long-term or short-term investment and the return from those investment. Some part of the budget speech of the Honorable Finance Minister also spoke about litigation, where probably the department is not going to pursue litigation. In certain cases, we again need to look at the fine print there. So I think overall, the budget looks quite balanced to me. Though again, the expectation was that since GST has been filling the government kitty quite handsomely, maybe some announcement on the tax rate cut could have been announced even for corporates. But maybe the government wants to just go at the same pace that it is going. And as I said, no additional tax announcement is a good news for now.
Sure. We'll come back to the big announcements. You said budget sets path for the next 25 years. I sometimes find it's easier to talk about next 25 years than to talk about next 2 years. What is it that the budget has really done in terms of, or for what will this budget do to bring corporate profitability back on track in the next 1 year? What will it do to bring private investment into the economy in next 1 year? Any specific proposals that you noticed will do that?
So, Shaleen, to that effect, I didn't see anything in the budget speech. As I said, maybe we'll have to look at the documents per se. But one important thing that probably this government has been trying to emphasize is maybe to have that stability and consistency. So I think these are the two things. Something, say, for instance, which they have been very clear, say, on retrospective tax, etc. So they don't want to, bring anything which is effective retrospectively on all that. I think this again gives a lot of ease to the foreign investors.
Sure. I mean, all those are measures that can be counted towards ease of doing business, including
Right.
litigation and everything. What I'm saying is, has the budget brought in enough money into the system? Has that been done?
So I think fiscal deficit numbers and all were spoken about, and I think maybe that's the reason why they don't want to touch or tinker around the tax rates. They just want to remain with the flow. So I don't think anything substantially coming out of the budget speech in terms of bringing in additional pool of money into the system. But I think as she has been speaking about the GST collections and all that, which probably is contributing quite good to the government kitty. I'm sure the government knows what kind of revenue goes in, and since all these infrastructure spends are going to be on a private partnership mode, I'm sure that a share of that is also being contributed by the private participation. So let's just look at how the budget documents speak about bringing about the balance in the receipt and the expense kind of portfolio that the government intends to set for the next few years.
Allocations for PLI, do you think more, as expected or less than expected?
Slightly less than expected. Maybe they should bring in a little more sectors, but at least announcement on this battery swapping policies. Sure. And all that are again steps in the right direction. At least we have started thinking on time, and probably bring in the policies at the right time rather than thinking after 2 or 3 years. So I think PLI has definitely set good expectations for the corporates in the manufacturing sector. Maybe there's a need to bring in a little more sunset sectors into the ambit, and let's wait and see how the government probably brings those new sectors into the ambit of PLI.
There is a room to do that outside the budget as well.
That's right. Yeah, they can do that.
Okay, but any particular reason why they may have chosen not to do it today?
Not too sure. See, I think, say for instance, few months back, or few days back, sorry, they brought about a new announcement where pharma sectors can again, apply under the PLI 1 scheme itself. So I think, again, this is a phase where they probably just want to see how is the participation, and depending on the participation, they want to extend and maybe reintroduce the PLI for certain sectors. I think they got a very good, amount of feedback for the, PLI in the pharma sector. And maybe that's the reason why they wanted to reintroduce it under Pharma 1 itself for PLI. So maybe this is a sector and, a scheme where the government probably would want to see how enthusiastic the particular sector in the industry is, and then probably just go by the wave.
See, another major thing which I found missing was there was no talk on disinvestment. There was a very casual mention of LIC IPO.
Right.
This year's disinvestment target, we are falling terribly short. Out of 1,75,000 crore, we are at 12 or 13,000 crore right now.
That's
So that's not going to be met at all. Uh, uh, and LIC IPO, it might spill over to the next financial year. So does that kind of shortfall in disinvestment targets or asset monetization, does that worry you?
I think as far as LIC IPO is concerned, Shaleen, I think the government is quite serious because again, last few days, media has been carrying articles on what the government intends to do, and they are definitely serious in terms of doing it in the current fiscal itself. I mean, whatever changes are required as far as FDI laws are concerned or exchange control laws are concerned, I think all of them have been in discussions. So I'm sure this LIC IPO is going to be a major kind of step that the government may take. But I still agree that there is a significant gap in terms of the disinvestment target that probably the government intended to do in the last 1 or 2 years.
Yes, so I was doing some numbers. Disinvestment target is 1,75,000 crore. LIC valuation government is trying to peg it at 15 lakh crore rupees, and at 5% of that, we get about 75,000 crore from LIC IPO. That too, if it sails through. So again, we are still short of about 80,000 crore rupees from the disinvestment target. So
That's right.
Is that shortfall met from somewhere else?
At least not coming out very clear from any of the announcement that the FM mentioned today in the parliament. Maybe we'll have to just wait and see if there is anything else running in the heads of the government to probably monetize on this kind of assets.
Sure. Another thing which FM did not make any mention of was crude oil prices. It went above 91 yesterday or day before, and there is a growing call for cut in excise duties. Do you think FM could have done that today, or if not today, then she will have to do it in the coming days?
Maybe they will do it in the coming days, Shaleen, because you know how all these oil bonds and all have panned out in the last couple of months, where government has offloaded a majority of the lending which was taken from the overseas country, and the taxes on all this fuel is something which has a kind of connect with state as well as the central government levy. So I'm sure the government is trying to monitor this closely, but if not in today's announcement, maybe if required, the government may announce something off or outside the budget itself.
Sure. I want to talk about crypto taxation for a minute.
Sure.
So first of all, I need a clarification. FN said that crypto gains will be taxed at 30%. Now, will that gain be directly added into my income slab, or will it be first taxed at 30%?
I think again, Shaleen, we need to look at how the taxing mechanism has been written out as amendments to the Income Tax Act. But I would largely think that she is saying that the entire gain will be taxed at 30%. So which means that that's a special rate that probably applies, and it's not the way that you said, where it will be added to my total income and then it will be taxed at 30%, because it may be a case where if those crypto gains are added to my total income, I may still fall under a tax rate which is beyond 30%. So I think this is more of a special rate that applies, saying that any gains arising out of transfer or dealing in crypto will be taxed at a special rate of 30%.
So in that case, what happens is, if I'm in 30% tax bracket, my incremental professional income, my salary income or my business income, anything, my regular income gets taxed at 30% plus cess.
That's right.
But if this is the mechanism that government takes for taxing crypto, it's just taxed at 30% without any cess. Did I understand that correctly?
May or may not be. Again, as I said, let's look at the budget documents once it comes out. I'm sure that cess should be applicable. This is only the tax rate that probably she announced in her budget speech. So technically and rightfully, it should be income tax plus cess. All that maybe that they are trying to do is they are trying to gauge that most of the investors probably will fall under 30% or below tax rate. Probably would have invested in crypto. I'm sure that some kind of review or study would have been done to find out which are the category of retail investors who have invested in crypto markets. So technically, they're just trying to cap the income tax rate at 30%, and I'm sure that the idea will not be to not apply cess on that 30%.
Sure. Sandeep, that's it from me. If you have any closing comments about today's budget.
Yeah, I mean, just that, looks like a lot of, there's a gamut of announcement that comes out in the budget speech of the Honorable Finance Minister. Let's now quickly spend some time in terms of looking at the details. And if there are, more coming out, because generally budget speech is just a subset of the entire announcement that comes out in the document. So let's just spend some time to look at what more lies in the budget documents that probably will be released soon.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for your time, and we'll definitely get back to you for a detailed discussion once we and you both have had a look at documents.
Sure. Thank you, Shaleen.
Thank you.